record. But anyway, Swayambhuva Manu, he appeared and he in Kapila Muni, who is a great Brahmana. The Brahmana is like the head of society, and the Kshatriya is like Swayambhuva Manu, the kings and the armies and everything, the police. They're like the arms of Vishnu. I compare it to like the different universal forms of Vishnu, different limbs of his body, It's just a comparison, but people can meditate on that, the universal form of Krishna, and then become enlightened, even if they can't even understand that Krishna is a person. They meditate on the universal form of Krishna. They get that idea in their head, and then they just worship that, and you become spiritual by that process. The trees are like the hairs on his body. The arms are like the kshatriyas. The navel is like the farming class, the vaishyas and mercantile class, and the you know. But anyway, so he brought his daughter, and he agreed to marry her. But he said, he told Swayambhuva Manu, the king, he said, if people, if you have to take care of the world, if you're a king, I mean that's the duty, just to take care of the citizens, just like a father takes care of her children or a mother takes care of her children. And so you have to take care of the citizens just like as if they were your children. And if you don't, then all the people who are just greedy after money,
Hmm.
they'll flourish and they will, um, if unchecked, they'll destroy the whole world.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening.
Yep.
It happens again and again and again. And that's
Yep.
why that happened millions of years ago, but history repeats itself. But since you already saw that, and you have nobody else here that hasn't seen that video, that I've gotten, let me see. I'm going to check out and see how many views I've gotten on a video. That video's gone viral.
Oh, really? The one
Yeah,
you posted?
the with the frogs.
Oh, yeah.
That was made by Tom Hartman's wife. She
Oh,
writes
wow.
and produces a song a day. It's called
Mhm.
the Daily Song, 5 days a week. And so let me see how many likes it's gotten. I'm just looking at my YouTube page here.
That was just Tom Hartman's thing.
Yeah. See,
Woo.
it was only published 2 days ago.
Hmm.
Already, it's gotten 5,500 views.
Wow. That's pretty
And also, let's see how many comments.
cool in 2 days.
Uh, 70 comments,
Wow.
and they're almost all positive. People love that video. My friend Ana Benitez, she's like a Latina lady. She's a
Hmm.
real estate agent now, but I met her back in 2018 and gave her a ride from a gym on in my Uber, and she came. She was really excited about it at first, but she was married at the time, even though she was really young. She was like a fitness model. Then she was like working out, but she's had various jobs, but now she's making a lot of money doing the real estate.
Hmm.
But she liked that video too. She just she thought it was.
Did you know that they were doing a No Kings in Dublin, Ireland?
Yeah, I saw that, and also in all different in South Korea, freaking
Wow.
South Korea, they're doing,
Wow.
because they're kind of in solidarity with
Yeah.
America,
Well, you better
because
be because
America should be following the
if
footsteps.
we go down, everyone's going to follow. I can tell you that much.
If America would follow in South Korea's footsteps, that would be awesome because you know what happened about a half a year ago, right? In South
What?
Korea?
In South Korea? What?
South Korea, yeah, the government, the leader who was like a Trumpian kind of guy, he
Mm.
just he said he wanted to shut down the government and do all kinds of like
Oh
things like
boy.
that,
Hmm.
declare martial law, and just like Trump's going to do pretty soon.
Yep.
He'll do it city by city, but it's going to spread all over the place, and that's one of the reasons why it's pretty urgent. I was born on May 4th, 1955, and so on my 15th birthday
Mhm.
um, was Kent State.
Well, my father was going to Kent State when that
Oh
happened.
yeah, you told me that, didn't you? Yeah, you.
He was there.
That wasn't at that time though, right? That was probably later, right?
I mean, he was at the school. He was on the campus when it happened. He was
Oh
going.
my God.
Yeah.
That must have been traumatizing for him.
Yeah, I remember him telling me the story and it was so weird. It was
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean,
yeah,
but Trump's tin soldiers are becoming pretty soon,
yeah.
and there's going to be bloodshed. But Neil Young, he got on that right away. He produced that song and they immediately put it out. I mean,
Mhm.
I mean, a lot of these guys that are like really into protesting and stuff, they get a little over the top, Like, I mean, I love Neil Young. He's a good guy, you know,
Mhm.
but he's going to boycott Amazon.
Oh wow. Mm.
That's he wants everybody to boycott Amazon. That's not going to do it one bit of difference.
Mm-mm.
Nobody, but Amazon's got this world by the badangis.
Well, I mean, the problem is you can boycott it all you want, but he's already amassed so much wealth that like what's
No,
gonna
he's got billions of dollars. I mean, like
yeah, so whether you
5
buy
years
it or
ago,
not,
before the
I mean
pandemic, he had like 28 billion. Now he's got like how many billions?
if everybody boycotted it for the next 10 years, the guy would never go broke. If you boycott
No,
it for the
I
rest,
mean, if everybody, he could solve world hunger just by a fraction of his interest
fraction.
on
Yeah,
his
a
money.
fraction, sure.
But it's a useless cause. But I
Yeah,
think sometimes, you know, you have to really, we only have a certain amount of time in this life to
yeah,
do good things. And so we have to concentrate on what Krishna wants us to do. So that's been my MO, my modus operandi recently. And I'm just reading Prabhupada's Transcendental Diary. And what he did in 12 short years, he
mhm,
completely conquered the entire world with Christian consciousness, started
yeah.
as seeds of this movement,
Mhm.
which will last for the next 10,000 years. And so that's really something.
That's something.
And the thing is, Bhaktisiddhanta, his spiritual master, he said, he was a Naishtika brahmachari. In other words, he was never married and he never even had sex or passed semen or anything. He was
Mhm.
like a totally celibate guy. And he said, "Well, I'm prepared to have sex as many times as I can, if I could produce a devotee." And he said that if I could produce one devotee, one pure devotee, I would consider my mission a success. Not just like millions of stars, like all kinds of, like, 1/3 of all of the devotees now are like MAGA.
What?
Yeah, there's a lot of MAGA people, some of my friends, my
Oh,
former friends. I don't even talk to them anymore.
gee, I
But
can't. Yeah, I have completely broken all association with, at this point, anyone believing any of this stuff. Like, I'm done.
there's something wrong with you, just like
There's
David
something
Letterman
wrong.
said about Neil Young. He said if you don't like Neil Young, there's something wrong with you.
Yep.
And so, like Nityo and I shouldn't mention any names, but my former friends, I used to go out with them all the time. I've known them for 30, 40 years, but I can't even talk to them anymore because they don't care. Either they don't care or they think they're above it all
Yeah,
and they don't even pay attention. So what
no,
happens is like
really dangerous.
this devotee friend of mine who used to live in New Vrindavan, I used to go out with him and I was with him for decades, and he was my close friend, but he didn't care. He was like he thought he was above all kinds of like
Mhm.
understanding about, like pure devotees has to be pure devotee, and this is and that, and you have to worship the pure devotee. I agree with that totally, but you have to at the same time train your family to understand the difference between reality and illusion. And because he didn't give a crap about politics or the real world, or the material distinctions between right and wrong, his all of his children that were born of him are like Trumpers.
Mm.
And that's tragic.
He's a
And
devotee.
I mean, and my friend's wife, who has actually built the palace pretty much single-handedly,
Wow.
his wife, because he doesn't give a crap either. His wife is like a total MAGA.
Whoa. And she built the temple?
She even gives him money and and makes like all kinds of um on social media. She'll just like glorify him. I love my President Trump.
Ugh. It's a
And
sickness.
that is like, with the children, I mean, if you're not taking care of your wife, you're not kind of trying to guide her away from that demoniac influence,
Yeah. You're not a good
then
baby.
it's actually irresponsible. You're not you unless you can deliver your
Well,
parents
you saw
to
ICE
your
attacking that
defenders.
priest, that he was a Presbyterian priest. And here's the thing, like these people, all these women, I said if I was gonna have a band next, it would be called Beware Blondes Wearing Crosses. Because like
Oh yeah, yeah.
Caroline Leave It and Pam Scam Blondie. What's it?
Yeah, Pam
It's like they
Blondie.
wear those huge crosses. To me, it's a decoy. It's a distraction because like they're demonic under it. It's like if
Yeah,
a
Jon Stewart had a bit about that.
oh really?
Yeah,
He's great.
I'll send it to you. But
I
I
love
because
him.
I made a clip out of it, and
Uh-huh.
she says she lies so much. I don't blame her for lying because that's her job.
Right.
But like every time she lies, he said the cross gets bigger, and he actually made it look on her neck. So that way,
He's
I
so
love Jon Stewart.
I
And
love
so,
him
a lot
too.
of my friends, even my next door neighbor, he said Jon Stewart's full of shit.
Jon
You know what
Stewart's
he says if Jon
awesome.
Stewart's full of shit
Jon
is
Stewart's a fucking hero.
he's a fucking hero.
When they wanted to take away the 9/11 fund
Yeah,
for those
yeah.
people, he
He
went
went
out and
down there
fought for
and
those New
fighting
Yorkers.
like
He went out on
hell
the
for that.
streets
Oh
and
my
fought.
God. He
He's a
was
hero.
like a hero. And he very much cares. And he's not like an activist that's just trying to do it for himself, like
Oh, he
that
legit
guy
went and tried to.
that did the pig, pig movie, he super glued his hand to a Starbucks counter because he didn't like the fact that they charge more for a soy latte.
Who?
The guy that was in the farmer in Babe,
Oh, okay.
and he's like 90 years old, but
Oh, well.
still, just to draw attention to himself and to for what a great defender of animals he is, he super glued his hand to the Starbucks counter in protest. And that is just ridiculous. I mean, that's kind of like it kind of reminds me of Neil Young boycotting Amazon, but both of those things don't have any effect whatsoever.
No.
They don't. I mean, you
Well,
have to just,
like when I mean, I was very like it moved me being there today. Like I got tearful.
oh yeah, yeah. When I was making that Portland video,
Yeah.
I was in tears.
Yeah.
Just because I'm looking at what's going on, and still these people in Portland are so upbeat, and
Yeah.
they're not they move through the tear gas and they just don't back down, and they're all peaceful, and they're doing these like inventive ways. What are you going to do? Besides like try to put pepper spray into the vent of a frog. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't kill the whole purpose of the one of the best lines in that song was you can't um, steal our freedom with pepper spray
Hmm.
because you just don't understand what freedom means. Freedom means you can just like like back in the day, the Hindu Muslim riots, they were fighting with each other, and that was actually arranged by the government as well. The Hindus and the Muslims, Prabhupada said, used to get along with each other in India,
Oh,
but the British government wanted to create some kind of divide and conquer thing. So
wow.
it's like ants. If you put red ants and black ants in the same jar, they just start ripping each other apart. And so they fomented that, they incited that conflict, and the Muslims would take the deities of the Hindus, the gods, like the deities like Radha and Chandra and the marble statues they have in the temples, and break them up, and then put them in the cement of the steps of the Muslim temples, and so that people will walk on the deities
Oh no.
forever. I mean, that doesn't do it. That's not God. You can't walk on God. Even though one of the misheard lyrics that I have. You ever heard the Canadian national anthem?
I don't I probably have, but I don't I can't think.
Oh, Canada,
Oh
we
right.
stand on guard for thee. And I thought it meant we stand on God for me, for thee. And I said, that's offensive. You can't stand on God. But that's another misheard lyrics, you know. But but that doesn't do anything to God. God's transcendental. He's not the stone in the deity. He's the
But
representation who
here's the
deals with it.
problem. Here's the problem, though. 40% of the people in this country still think Trump and what's going on is the greatest stuff ever. I mean, 40%.
I know.
How?
And not only that, when they had the what do you call it? The Haitians were eating the pets in
Mhm.
Springfield, Illinois, in Springfield, Ohio.
Right.
Most of the Republicans believe that too.
Right.
They just believe whatever they are fed. And
But
so
as
when
long
you're
as you're
fed
going to
all
have
these
that many
lies, then
people
you can't
supporting
distinguish.
them, if you're
What's
going to have
that?
that many, as long as you're going to have that many people supporting them, there's just no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how do we fight that though? That's the question. And Bhakti Siddhanta, he was Prabhupada's spiritual master. And 100 years ago, almost 100 years ago, um, he said this um, in 1931. So that was 94 years ago. And he's talking about India. India is like a very pious place, and most of the people tell the truth. But he said the aggressive pronouncement of the concrete truth is the crying necessity of the moment for silencing the aggressive propaganda of specific untruths that are being carried on all over the world. So that's what you have to fight the truth, fight the lies with truth. And you have to be able to show people the distinguish between reality and illusion. That's what the Bhagavatam's purpose is. The Srimad Bhagavatam, there's a verse in there that says that the goal of the Bhagavatam is to distinguish reality from illusion for the welfare of all. People are deluded because they're born. Everybody's born in delusion. Prabhupada said that everybody that lives in this material world, they're kind of like in a psych ward.
Yeah.
I
Full.
mean, my spiritual mentor, Dave Marita Swami, he's a guru now in New Zealand, but I used to be his personal servant. I'd drive him around because he was a Sankirtan leader, and I would drive him to all different places all over the country, to Boston and Florida, and he would meet with the Sankirtan devotees. But he said one time, we're all kind of living in a psych ward. We're not. This isn't our home. So if you wake, he said, if you wake up in the morning and see a material body in your face in the mirror, you know if you've made a mistake. So that is it's kind of hard. We think this is our home. We think it's a nice place. We've been brainwashed. This is really not a nice place. Krishna certifies this place as temporary and miserable. I mean, I tell people when I drive them around in Uber, I said, this material world's not a very nice place. If you kind of look around, you see this place kind of sucks because everybody has to die, all your friends and family, and you're separated from them. And we are eternal spirit souls. So we really um, want to live forever, and we do live forever. But, birth, death, old age, and disease are the four evils of this material world. And it sucks because then we're separated from our friends and family, and we have to grow old and die, and then repeat. Like that's the cycle of samsara, and that's part of the evil, the four evils of this material world. So the whole idea is to transcend through the purification of your soul, kind of reform yourself by that purification. It qualifies you for a spiritual body in your next life, and so you can get out of the material world. That's not the goal of life. A devotee really doesn't care where he lives. He can live in heaven or in hell. As long as he gets a chance to serve Krishna, it doesn't matter. He could be in hell. In hell, like there's a machine called a threshing machine. It threshes wheat.
Mhm.
And if it works the same everywhere. Like if it was in heaven, it would thresh wheat. If it was in hell, it threshes wheat. So a devotee doesn't care. As long as he can serve Krishna and be in association of devotees and serve a guru and be connected in that way to Krishna, then it doesn't matter if you're in hell. As long as you're like doing what the spiritual master wants you to do, then you're good. you're pleasing your spiritual master, and it doesn't matter where you are. The goal is not to get out of the material world. Liberation, yeah, that's just a bogus goal. That's also material. So because if you're selfless, you'll do whatever Krishna wants you to do, no matter where you are. Therefore, there's no anxiety for a devotee, you know. It doesn't matter what happens, and even in the worst kind of situation, he'll still do his duty because he knows that Krishna wants what Krishna wants him to do. So anyway, we're going to read a little bit of this thing here, I think. Uh, hmm.
It got hot out there today, man.
What's that?
It got hot out there. Like that sun
Hot,
hit.
yeah, it got hot.
Wow, I don't
Yeah, it
even.
was supposed to be like hold
It
on.
got-
It was supposed to be like maybe 77 degrees, I think, for a high.
I mean, I was like sweating for a minute.
Yeah, I wore shorts and t-shirt because I knew it was going to be hot.
Mhm.
But can you see the screen now?
Yeah, I
When
guess so.
loyalty becomes law.
Hmm.
But that's a mean looking motherfucker right there, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's like an AI generated soldier. Okay, we'll take turns reading. This is Tom Hartman. I think he's on vacation because he was in Chicago and his wife is off. You know, she hasn't been writing his songs. Those two are just they're like prophets. And I can't believe the amount of really meaningful popular stuff that they do. I mean, he's the one of the most popular podcasters in the country, and she it, writes a song every day, and he's written like 40 books. He's really, really a historian, and he really knows how to connect the dots. And he's been a spiritual person pretty much his whole life, ever since he was young. Uh, but he met my father was, or my spiritual master was friends with the Christian monk named B.D. Griffiths, and he actually made a comment in the back of one of his books, Bhaktipad's books, and it was by B.D. Griffiths, and so Tom Hartman knew B.D. Griffiths. And so, kind of like running in the same circles, So he's a spiritual person, but he's not a devotee. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. But he really knows what's going on in the world. He really has his pulse on. I used to not even really want to listen to him that much because it's so freaking depressing. But the problem is you have to be paying attention nowadays. I mean, you have to also, Rachel Maddow just, I don't know if they might be rerunning this, or you might be able to find it online, but she just did a documentary. She produced a documentary about Andrew Young. You ever heard of Andrew Young?
No.
He was personal. He was a personal assistant to Martin Luther King Jr.
Oh, wow. Mm.
And he did, it was called the name of the documentary is called Dirty Work because he would do all the dirty work, stuff that nobody else wanted to do, like talk with the white nationalists and the
Wow.
business owners and stuff. He would do all that stuff that nobody else would even think of doing, He had to do all of the really hard things. And that's what it's going to take in this whole slog. It's going to take a long time. It's not going to be over in like this election. It's
Well, and they said it at the protest. They said exactly that at the protest today, if you remember.
yeah, they said that.
Yeah, they did say
It's
that.
going to take a long time
Yeah,
because these
and
people just
I
don't
mean,
go away.
this
They've
is
got an idea they've
no,
got
this
there.
is it's going to take decades to unravel, and then several decades to for something new. I mean, I don't think I'll live to see the day when something better comes in order because I just don't. I mean, I think it will be
Yeah,
beyond
I mean,
my
it's
lifetime.
unfortunate because Prabhupada had such great hope for America. He said that everybody in the world follows America because they're the greatest place. And he went to New York City, which is the greatest city in the world, because that's like the Mecca of America. We have the greatest material advancement, the greatest amount of sense gratification, and the whole world was following America because of that. But it was blind.
Yeah.
America's blind spiritually. And he had the idea of the blind man and the lame man. He makes that analogy. The blind man is America, and the lame man, they don't have any money in India, but they have vision. They have spiritual vision. So if the lame man gets up on the shoulders of the blind man,
Mhm.
then the blind man, the lame man can tell him where to go because he can tell he has vision. People in India have spiritual vision and they can direct the society. So that combination of the blind man and the lame man and the blind man and the lame man, that was his idea of starting Christian consciousness in America. And it was very successful until this whole coup. And now America, instead of everybody following America, nobody follows America. America's a pariah.
Yeah.
A pariah means that's actually a term from India. It means like a outcast country.
Oh, it is a term from India. I didn't know it.
Yeah, that pariah is a term that comes from like an outcast sect or somebody that's disregarded in society. But let me just start reading this. This is a good. It's also frightening as everything Hartman writes is, but it's real. So we just have to. We can't ignore these things. We
Mhm.
have to like face the reality and then deal with it accordingly. Uh, when loyalty becomes law, is our military already in a coup? The Pentagon's purge of its own legal advisors,
Oof.
all the JAG officers are gone, you know.
And then the press walked out just recently. You hear
And the
that?
press, well, that is actually a good sign. They took all the press out of the Pentagon. They
Yeah,
packed up their shit and
they did.
walked out with their
Walked out.
with their passes, which
Mhm.
is great because they're standing up to it. He said, "We're not going to be your fucking stenographers.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
we're not going to be that. We're still gonna report, but outside the Pentagon."
Right.
And so, that is awesome. And the same thing happened when the CDC was destroyed. A lot of people quit. One
Mhm.
one very famous leader in the CDC quit. He just resigned. And that's what you have to do because
Yeah, I mean, you don't
bend
have
the
a
knee.
choice,
That
but then
when
they
you bend the knee, it's like ABC and Disney. Disney's own ABC is owned by Disney, and Paramount CBS is owned by Paramount now. They made that merger. See, that's what they do. All the oligarchs, these rich people, they combine with the government. That's called fascism. Fascism is a group of sticks. When you combine together with the government and the corporations, they feed each other and they're rewarded and they can do whatever they want
you
as long
create
as you make it.
monopolies, and I mean, Theodore Roosevelt was, was the trust buster, right? I mean, he was the guy
Yeah,
who,
he was, but now they're getting rid of that. And so with
right.
all these mergers and acquisitions,
Mhm.
they're swallowing up everything. I think like maybe someday, Amazon will own everything. It's
Isn't
already
it already
like
down to like four companies that own everything? There's literally
yeah,
like a
like all of
president of
the all of the
food, like
media companies
everything.
and all the news outlets. I mean, see that's what's happening to in ABC. My wife and I watch CBS Mornings with Gail King. Gail
Mhm.
King's kind of an awesome person. I like her. She's Oprah's friend. You know
Okay,
Gail King? She's a black lady,
I've never
about
seen her.
70 years old.
Mhm.
Anyway, she has her program, CBS Mornings,
Mhm.
and it's kind of like Good Morning America, but it's on CBS. But I don't know if I want to watch that anymore because now they have like a monitor. Paramount has put some woman in charge of like the news division of CBS, and so we're going to get state news now. And
Oh,
if they step out of line, or Gail King's going to be out of a job, just like Colbert is
it's crazy.
or will be.
It's nuts.
And everybody was really upset about that. But they fought back with Kimmel
Yeah.
and they won. See, pushback works.
Pushback
Pressure works.
works, but people started canceling all their subscriptions. And
Yeah,
now,
they were worried about it. And so, it's not going to work with Amazon. Amazon's too big. They're too big to fail. It doesn't matter if, because people are still going to buy from Amazon because it's so friggin' convenient.
hmm
Who wants to go to a big box store? Nobody. I don't. I especially during the pandemic, I didn't want somebody come up to me. Can I help you? No, stay away from me. It's a pandemic, you know. My wife bought me a t-shirt that said, "And when this is all over, the pandemic, I still want you to stay away from me." That was my whole attitude. I didn't want to go anywhere. I wouldn't want to do anything. All my deliveries get out, put it on my porch and go away. I don't even talk to you. Don't ring the doorbell. If they ring a doorbell, you're not getting a tip from DoorDash or whoever contractor that Walmart's. I even kind of like, you know, don't want to even admit that I buy from Walmart because Costco is such a better company, but they don't deliver.
Hmm.
But anyway, so why don't you read like a first three or four paragraphs here and tell
Is the U.S. military already in the early stages of a Trump-led coup against our Constitution? Inside the Pentagon, loyalty is being elevated above laws. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth quietly removes senior military lawyers, the very officials meant to uphold legality and restraint, and replaces them with loyalists. The purge has also happened to senior military leadership. Yesterday, the New York Times reported that Admiral Alvin Holsey, the head, the head
U.S.
yeah, U.S. Southern Command, which has overseen the strikes against boats off the coast of Venezuela, is stepping down. Oh, did you hear they just bombed? Did you hear they just
Yeah,
bombed a submarine?
they, I didn't hear they bombed a submarine.
Yeah, like literally, like
He wants to like, you know, there's a saying, if there's trouble at home,
yeah.
start a war overseas, just to distract
No, they
attention.
this was just a few hours ago today. Like whatever, like
Yeah, there's going to be
they
a war with
bombed they
Venezuela.
bombed like some submarine now or some shit. Like I don't even. You
Yeah, I
can't.
mean
Uh,
all these people and Trump says, you know, we don't want any we don't need any evidence because he doesn't need evidence. He doesn't need an after examination to find out if it was legal. He's the judge, the jury, and the extrajudicial executioner, and he can start any war he wants to, anywhere in the world, just on based on his whim.
mhm.
Doesn't need any justification. And that's pretty dangerous. He could start a war in Greenland. He could start a war against Norway if they don't give him a friggin' Nobel Prize. He's like the Colbert's character. Remember the Colbert Report? His
Yeah.
that conservative uh, character that he did for like 16 years. He modeled that after Papa Bear, Bill O'Reilly.
Did you see
And
Civil War yet?
did I see what?
Civil War, the movie Civil War?
No, that's a Burns thing, right?
No,
Ken
no, 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 no. No. It's the
Oh
A24 movie.
yeah, 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 yeah. I'm gonna watch
It's
that.
with Kirsten Dunst and Jesse Plemons and I forget the other actor.
Kirsten Dunst, she was in Spider-Man, right?
Yeah, you've got to see this. You have like if you want to know how this might go and how it might end, I don't think anyone's captured it better than that. I mean it's
Really?
eerie. It's eerie. Yeah, yeah. And one battle after another. You really got to see that too. That kind of
Yeah, one battle after another. That's the
Leonardo
I think I'm
DiCaprio.
gonna wait till it goes that comes out on streaming because my wife and I have had too many dates. You know, I don't get out of the house much, and sometimes she drags me out of the house and get out of my man cave.
Yeah.
And you know, I have to get out and walk around a little bit, but you know, sometimes I have to, you know, like our idea of a good time, you know, because I'm old, I'm 70 years old. Our idea is we're gonna go down to CVS and get my RSV and my COVID and my flu shot. We're gonna do that together.
That's so
You know, old people stuff, you know.
right out on the town.
Party down. And Gail King used to say, you know, she was like, you know, the Brewsters would be ready pretty soon and move all the children out of the way because I'm coming through.
Mhm.
She's funny. She's no anti-vaxxer, that's for sure. But yeah, Halsey, nobody knows why he got fired or if he got fired if he just quit out of
Oh, this
you know,
guy.
because of a protest, just like all of the press
I
corps and
finished
the
reading it.
Pentagon.
Which has overseen the strikes against the coast of Venezuela. Well, Admiral Holsey has not said why he's leaving. It may well be. Uh,
Continuation.
yeah, sorry, I just got a crazy full cramp. It may well be a continuation of the troubling trend of purges of highly qualified senior military officials who may have been inclined to restrain Trump's illegal and fascistic impulses. Eesh.
Yeah, see, he had like all kinds of. He had Mark Esper in the Department of Defense. He had Mark Milley, and they said no, you can't shoot people in the leg. He wanted to shoot people in the leg. Why can't we just shoot him during the Black Lives Matter riots? Why
Fucking
can't you just shoot him in the leg or
this
something?
is crazy.
No, you can't do that. And then he was restrained. But
Yeah.
Kager, your Whiskey Pete Hegseth, he'll do anything he wants. He's they're all just a bunch of lick spitting toadies.
Whiskey Pete Kage's breath.
Keg's breath, yeah, Whiskey Pete.
I call him Kage's breath.
He's yeah. Hartman calls him Pete Kager Hegseth.
I call him Kage's breath.
Uh,
So
let's see. The recent purge of
yeah.
military attorneys, in particular, isn't routine bureaucracy. It's the deliberate dismantling of the safeguards that prevent America's armed forces from becoming a political weapon against American citizens and democracy.
Exactly what they're doing.
It's hard to overstate the significance of what's happening now inside the Pentagon. They had an Onion headline. It had like a bare-chested Pete Hegseth with his tattoo,
Oh,
his crusade tattoos on his body. He said now that all the press corps is gone, he's walking around the Pentagon naked.
oh my God, that's funny.
I love the Onion.
Yeah, it's
Anyway,
great.
you can read the next few paragraphs here.
At the Washington Post, Dave Ignatius asked why the military has not spoken out against Trump's attacks on boats, the coast of Venezuela, and what I characterize as its unconstitutional deployment of troops against American civilians. He then answers his own question in the article's second paragraph. One chilling answer: that Trump team has gutted the JAGs, Judge Advocate Generals, who are supposed to advise commanders on the rule of law, including whether presidential orders are legal. Without these independent military lawyers backing them up, commanders have no recourse other than to comply or resign. Judge Advocate Generals, or JAGs, are the institutional safeguard against unlawful orders. They advise commanders on rules of engagement, the Geneva Conventions, and the limits of the presidential authority. When an administration starts purging them, we're not looking at a routine personnel shuffle. We're seeing the careful dismantling of the guardrails that prevent America's military from being weaponized against American people. This purge began with Kaig's breath's February firing of the top lawyers from the Army, Navy, and Air Force. He claimed that they weren't simply well suited to provide recommendations of lawful orders, but no criminal charges were alleged, no ethic complaints cited. He simply removed them wholesale.
Yeah. The message is clear. Trump loyalty trumps legal judgment. Just like in third world dictatorships, just
Yeah.
like in Putin's Russia, which increasingly appears to be Donald Trump's role model. Once the old guard is removed, Hegseth quietly moved to remake the JAG Corps itself. According to the reporting of The Guardian, his office is pushing an overhaul to retrain military lawyers in ways that give commanders more leeway and produce more permissive legal advice. His personal, not military lawyer, who defended him against sexual abuse allegations, Tim Parlatore, has been involved in this process, wielding influence over how rules of engagement are interpreted and how internal discipline is handled. At the same time, he's transformed Pentagon press controls. This week, Washington Post exposed how Hegseth and Parlatore helped draft sweeping restrictions on journalists' access and movement within the Department of Defense.
Under new rules similar to the way the Kremlin operates, reporters are required to sign pledges stating that they won't gather or use unauthorized material, even unclassified, or risk losing their Pentagon credentials if they stray. The policy also limits reporter mobility within the Pentagon and curtails direct contact with military personnel unless escorted. Their action was swift. Dozens of media organizations, Reuters, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, NPR, The Atlantic, refused to sign Kaig's breath's pledge, citing the constitutional concerns and the chilling effects on such controls. Only the far right One American News has
Yeah,
agreed.
Fox News even refused.
Uh-huh.
And
Wow. Yeah, yeah, they did. That's right.
Newsmax and Fox News refused
Yep.
to sign that because they didn't want to, see,
No.
it's a bad business model. If you just do whatever the state media tells you to do, they're not going to make any money with that.
Meanwhile, the Pentagon Press Association declined to sign and warned that these rules constitute a disturbing situation, tend to limit leaks and suppress accountability. Put these moves together and a frightening pattern emerges. Purge independent legal advisor might say no and gag the press before the damage can be exposed. Combine that with increasingly aggressive unilateral action by the military abroad, and you have the outlines for strategy for bypassing democratic oversight. A Trump-forced coup, in other words. Wednesday, the U.S. Navy struck what Trump claims was a Yeah, right. With drug trafficking vessel off the coast of Venezuela, reportedly killing 6 people, there was no clear congressional authorization, and the legal justification remains opaque. When you remove internal legal dissent and public scrutiny, the threshold to use force becomes dangerously low. The domestic implications are equally chilling. Trump has said that he wants to use U.S. cities as training grounds for troops, and openly declared he would fire any general who fails to show total loyalty. A wannabe dictator can't deploy troops into American neighborhoods if he still has JAG saying if he there's that's not legal, or a press corps reporting where they go. First, he has to make sure there's no internal breaks and no public witness. That's how coups are built.
Yeah, it's like
It's a coup. I mean, it's a
nobody knows. It's obvious, though. I mean, the president of Venezuela said these weren't drug traffickers. They didn't even have enough gas to get to America. They said these people are invading American shores. They didn't even have enough fuel to get to
crazy.
America. And usually a drug runner will have like only a few people. They're probably
Well,
migrants.
and here's what's gonna happen because they think they can do whatever the fuck they want. They're gonna fuck with the wrong somebody something,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
here it comes. There it goes.
Trump is waiting for that with he is just salivating at the chance
who?
use some excuse. So my wife told me everything was peaceful today, all over the country.
Yep.
But they're
There
just
was no
waiting.
idiots.
If they can't find some event like that, they'll use some false flag operation, maybe like some oath keepers, and make some
Yep.
fake battle between some hired, you know, CIA agents or or ICE agents. I mean, and maybe they'll be all actors, and it'll just be like a whole theater presentation, and then they'll, just like when that kid, in order to go into Washington D.C., they used some teenager who was working with Musk's Doge committee, and his girlfriend. They're both attacked by some kids, and they beat him up, and he had a bloody face or whatever. But that's not any reason to call in the military and take over the entire city, right?
Okay, sorry, I'm going back. Hold on. Sorry, I had to step away for a second. Okay.
Yeah, that kid that Trump used as an excuse to go into Washington D.C. He was
Mhm.
beat up by some carjacker,
Mhm.
and then he takes that excuse and sends in the National Guard. So they can create some kind of false flag operation and just use that as an excuse, even if nobody. I mean, he's egging them on. He's like really wanting. I mean, the White House got on Blue Sky. Blue Sky is famously liberal.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw
So,
that. In
he's
all
just
the
using
departments.
that just to be a troll.
Yep. That's what he's
And
doing.
they say the most outrageous things, just like like what's his name? That really Christian pious Speaker of the House. What's his name? Mikey?
Oh, MAGA Mike Johnson. MAGA Mike.
Megan Mac Johnson,
Yeah, MAGA
he
Mike.
he, he is like
Butthead.
he says the worst things. Right. He says Mike Johnson just compared millions of Americans who plan on protesting this fascist regime on
Oh
October
yeah, Antifa or
Hamas terrorists.
Hamas. It's
We're
crazy.
so angry about it. I mean, I'm a very patient guy, but I've had it with these people. The theory
I'm
that we
not.
have right now that they have a Hate America rally, which is scheduled for today on the National Mall. It's the pro-Hamas wing and Antifa people.
Oh my
They're
God.
all coming out. I'm beyond words. And so I said, Mikey's so mad, he's, quote, beyond words. What's he going to do about it? Mikey took his oath on the office on the Constitution, the First Amendment of which guarantees the citizens freedom of speech, religion, their right to peaceably assemble, and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Is he going to change that amendment?
Well,
Good
like
luck.
when did this all officially end, by the way?
What?
Uh,
What?
uh constitutional rights. Like when did they say, "Oh, it's canceled"? Like
When they started wiping their ass with it. with the Constitution.
Well,
That's what I
you know
said. You
what
know,
it
it's like
is?
if
They've got
everybody
it.
doesn't do
It's
what
not
he
even a
does and
voting. They
wipe
have
his
to do
ass
like
on the
you have to. It's like a
Constitution,
cancer. You got to remove it. Like I don't even know what the.
if everybody in this country doesn't do what Mikey does, he's a good Christian, you know. He wipes his ass on the Constitution, like Jesus said, and instead kisses the ass of his dear leader, because Jesus said, I think somewhere in the Bible, that you have to defend
That's
these
true.
pedophiles. Didn't Jesus say that? You have to
Absolutely.
cover it up and not reveal anything.
Mhm.
That he worships Trump more than and obeys Trump more than he does Christ himself. But what if people don't do that? What is he gonna do? Start crying? Wah! Poor little fake Christian baby. You know what? You know what? How Lord Balaram dealt with those
Mhm.
types of people. When Maharshan Sutta he was actually a disciple of Vyasadeva, the author of the Vedas, and he was in the Naimisharanya forest, right?
Mhm.
Giving these Bhagavatam. It was 1,000 year sacrifice in the Ramahar on 5,000 years ago in the Naimisharanya forest. That's where the Bhagavatam was spoken. And Ramaharshan Sutta was a disciple of Vyasadeva. So he was an elevated personality. But the problem is, when Balaram came, he was on pilgrimage. He didn't want to take part in any of the Kurukshetra war. He was kind of like neutral. And
Mhm.
so he walked into that assembly, and everybody understood this is Lord Balaram. You have to pay obeisance. So they all paid obeisance. The only person who didn't pay obeisances, the guy that's sitting on the Vyasasan, the seat of Vyas. He didn't pay obeisance to Lord Balaram himself. And Lord Balaram, he really immediately understood it. Even though he was such an elevated disciple of Vyasadeva, he said, the very purpose of my descent in this world, this is Balaram speaking now. He was thinking this, I think. The very purpose of my descent in this world is to kill such hypocrites who pretend to be religious.
Mhm.
Indeed, they're the most sinful rascals. So he didn't mince any
And
words.
yeah,
And so he
they're
took a piece of kusha grass, a little piece of, they have this kusha grass that they sit on in order to meditate. Took that
Mhm.
piece of grass and touched Ramaharshan Sutta with, and he immediately died. So, Lord specifically descended to eliminate those who claim to be great religious leaders, but who do not even respect the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, who's your God, really? I mean, even the devotees, they claim to be devotees, but if they're worshiping Trump, they're not really. They are actually worshiping their own political proclivities, like all these MAGA Christians.
yeah,
They're
fakism.
these evangelical Christians who love Trump.
They're
But
fake.
they like their what his policy is, because Trump, he didn't preach about Jesus.
Mhm.
And John Fugelsang, I'm reading his new book. He's got a new book out. You know who John Fugelsang is? He used to
Uh,
be on VH1. He interviewed George Harrison. But he's like a comedian, and he's got an interesting background because he was the son of a Christian monk and the son of a nun. And so he shouldn't have even been born, because both of those people kind of deviated from their vows, but they met and they fell in love, and as a result, he was born. But the thing is, he really knows about Christianity, and he's really got a sharp wit. But he wrote this book called uh, Christian Hate or something like that, separating separation of church and hate. This book right here.
mhm.
Yeah,
Trump, when I'm president, we're going to make Jesus great again. Okay? Okay? We're not going to turn the other cheek anymore, people, all right? Verily I say, do unto others before they can do unto you, because they will, bigly. All right? All right? Believe me. He says he's Jesus of Nazareth, but he's born in Bethlehem. Which is it? We don't know. We don't know.
but he wrote this book, and it's a New York Times bestseller already. And I'm reading that book as an audiobook.
Mm.
I'm only on the first. I read the introduction. He's got a really
So this comedian,
interesting.
John
Yeah,
Fugelsang?
John Fugelsang. He used to be on VH1. He was like a VJ.
Mm.
He's interviewed George Harrison back in the day when he was still alive. And that was like in the 2000. That was like the last millennium,
Oh, that was okay.
1999, because George Harrison died in 2000. So
Yeah,
around for a while.
it's been a while.
Yeah, George Harrison. That's how I was introducing people to Krishna consciousness, because I have that a little uh, quote by Prabhupada. It's about how the devotees, there's room for protest in this movement. Prabhupada said. He said like these Nixons. My hope is that you can protest and drag these Nixon's out of office. And my fervent goal, my fervent desire is that you become president, a devotee. It was a letter to Amaranth or whatever his name was. But he said, you become a devotee and thus save the world from chaos.
Mm.
So that's what Prabhupada wanted. He wanted devotees to be in charge of the government. Um, but and there's room for protest, because just like his spiritual master, he didn't compromise. He's very much known for exactly following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami is the guru of our movement. Everybody follows. We're known as Rupanugas, or followers of Rupa Goswami, and he has delineated the science of Krishna consciousness, every aspect of it, all the way up to the purest love of God, because Rupa Goswami knew Lord Chaitanya's heart. In fact, when Rupa Goswami was bathing one time, Lord Chaitanya would go to visit him every day, and he wrote down a verse. And Lord Chaitanya was waiting for him by the Bay of Bengal, and Rupa Goswami came back after bathing, and Lord Chaitanya found a little handwritten, whatever they wrote it on back then, I guess like a palm leaf or something.
Hmm.
And he wrote a verse. And Lord Chaitanya, he couldn't believe it because it was exactly what he was thinking. In fact, it was so intimate that when Rupa Goswami came back, Lord Chaitanya slapped him in the face. He said, "How did you know my mind?" And then he asked Swarup Damodar, his intimate disciple, one of his most intimate disciples, he said, "How did Rupa Goswami know my mind?" And Swarup Damodar said, "You gave your mercy to him, so he knows everything that you're thinking." And so he was actually, we have that prayer every morning that we say before class. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? So that's the goal of devotional service, is just to take shelter of the lotus feet. In fact, the Guru Charana Pradma prayers that they do every morning for the Guru, one of the Chitete Guriya Aikya, my only wish is to have my consciousness purified from the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens my heart with transcendental knowledge and fills, he's famous throughout the world. And all these fake Christians like Charlie Kirk, everybody glorifies him as if he's some kind of fucking saint.
Yeah,
And they say, and everybody's like, say, if you say anything bad, you're going to get fired. And there's so many people gotten fired
it's
already
fucking
from that.
ridiculous. I
And
have to
so
be
it's
a
like,
fan of his.
but the thing is, like the spiritual master, it says in that prayer by Narottam Das Thakur, his fame is glorified all over the three worlds. Is Charlie Kirk's fame glorified all over the three worlds? Just compare those two personalities, Srila Prabhupada and Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was a racist, a misogynist, and a divisive, arrogant prick.
Comparison.
But he's using religion to bewilder young people.
Yeah.
And, so you have to be able to cut through that nonsense and kind of guide people away from that somehow or other because he was really, his YouTube, his Turning Point organization. I mean, he pretty much single-handedly had a lot to do with Trump getting elected because he won over the young people. And there were billboards all over town of Charlie Kirk in memoriam, because he was supposed to be a great Christian, because he was for life. But ironically, he said, you got to have a little gun violence. It doesn't matter if somebody's killed because that's the price we have to pay for the
Well,
second.
he paid the price for his belief, didn't he?
That's ironic. Yeah.
That's and then I just can't believe they were literally starting to talk about it when he got shot. Like just starting it debate
Well,
about
as
it.
soon as Trump was shot in Butler, up
Mhm,
north in that
mhm.
fairgrounds,
Yeah.
they shot him in the ear or whatever.
Yeah.
And as that same day, they rented a truck, one of those message trucks, like a flat back, a truck with a big LED screen on the side of it. It said Democrats did this,
Yeah, it's
even
ridiculous.
without even understanding. It's because they immediately blame the other side because it's just so partisan now, without even any, and everybody believes it, because it's just like knee jerk reaction to whatever is going on. Nothing's based on truth anymore. Anyway, we got to cut this off because uh, it's getting late.
Yeah, it is.
But
I'm tired.
thank you
I'm
for joining. I
exhausted.
really thank you for coming down to that thing today. And
Yeah.
I was talking to this lady, who was a big fan of John Lennon, and I have those books, Chant and Be Happy, with
Yeah,
picture of John Lennon and
I
George
have
Harrison
that book
on
too.
it. And it's the conversation between Srila Prabhupada and John Lennon. She was a big fan of John Lennon. And
Was it
so,
George Harrison?
what's that?
Conversation was it between John Lennon? Was it or was it George Harrison?
Both of them. They
Mm-hmm.
were they were staying at Tittenhurst, that's John Lennon's estate with Yoko,
Hmm.
and the devotees were staying in that sprawling estate there in Tittenhurst outside of London. They were allowed there to stay there, and they would be fixing up the place.
Hmm.
It was a fixer-upper. But they had conversation. Prabhupada had conversation with both of them.
Yeah.
So when Yoko came in the room, usually she like convinced John Lennon to just leave.
Uh,
But she wasn't really a devotee. But George Harrison was definitely a devotee.
yeah.
I use that as like kind of like this lady was older, so she knew who the Beatles were and who John Lennon was and everything. So it's like a lot of these young people, they don't even know who the Beatles are. You're getting old when you don't even know who the Beatles were.
I think a lot of the kids still know who the Beatles are. I think a lot of people, young people, still listen to them. You know.
Yeah, but I just remember I was a big Beatles fan. My cousin taught me all the names of the Beatles in 1964 when I was 9 years old. It's just getting on the scene, and it's like uh, they were big back then,
They were huge. Yeah, they were huge.
and but now it's like a lot of young people they don't even know who George Harrison is, but he wrote those songs based on Prabhupada's instructions. Like My Sweet Lord is the most famous song. I wasn't really a fan of that album, although I knew about that song, My Sweet Lord. I wasn't a devotee yet in 1970. This is 1970. I was 15 years old.
Hmm.
So I didn't know anything about Krishna at that point. My favorite band was Grand Funk Railroad.
That's a good band. Yeah.
He's like the Mark Farner, the lead guitarist. I went to see them in 1970 as well. When I was 15, my father took me, and he was like a physics professor, and he took a decibel meter to measure how loud it was. He went right up to Mark Farner's stack of amplifiers, and he measured 140 decibels right
Wow.
fire, and that's like the threshold of pain.
Holy shit. That was
So And but that album of 1970 Grand Funk Railroad,
Mhm.
um, and the album All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. George Harrison's album was the best album in 1970,
Mm.
and the worst album, Grand Funk Railroad.
But,
So that shows you like how musically attuned to the arts I was back then. But anyway, thank you very much for coming today, and thanks for talking. And we're
yeah,
gonna try to um, stick to Prabhupada's words. I'm really enjoying this Transcendental Diary. I
mm,
mean, it's just packed with nectar. I mean, I'm reading his. These are his later pastimes. He thought he had everything all sewed up, and he was trying to get out of management of ISKCON,
mm,
but still, so many things were happening. But I mean, good and bad things. I mean, the movement was expanding like crazy. People were giving him land, giving him temples, giving him property, and he started the Mayapur project back then. They were trying to negotiate with the Indian government to try to secure like 360 acres for that huge planetarium. And that was his dream. He said, if you help me build this temple, you go back to Godhead. So I
mm.
gave him $1,000. So that's a pretty cheap ticket.
What?
Anyway,
Wow.
thank you very much. Hare
All
Krishna.
right. Hare Krishna Sheikh. Thank you.
Haribo.
Haribo.